Good day, and welcome to another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. I am your host, Attorney Anthony Reeves, so let's get to your questions. Our first question focuses on, please explain what is the date last insured. When you pay into the Social Security Disability Benefits Program, you're not only paying in for retirement, you're also applying for insurance benefits as well. So that if for some odd reason you are unable to work due to a severe impairment, you're able to receive disability benefits calculated based on what you paid into the system. The date last insured is the last date that you have available by which you can demonstrate that that coverage still exists. So in other words, if they tell you that your date last insured is June 30th, 2012, that means in order for you to be able to get disability benefits based on what you paid into the system, you must demonstrate that your disability began at a bare minimum for that date. Anything after that date, you are outside your insurance coverage, which is why they refer to it as the date last insured. Our second question is, can I get SSI benefits after the age of 62? The short answer to that question is, it depends. If you meet the eligibility requirements for disability, meaning your income requirements, asset and resources requirement, as well as disability requirements, then yes, you can receive disability benefits after the age of 62. Remember, once you hit retirement age, it now becomes SSI for aged or for the retired at that particular point. Our third question is, I know someone who received a lump sum of $15,000 for Crohn's disease and then took that money and purchased a motorcycle. Is that fraud? The short answer is typically no. Here's how it plays out. Unless the disability benefits come with either one, a dedicated account, which is a specific account that tells you exactly what you need to spend it on, or you're receiving monies on behalf of someone else, and that money should be going for their benefit, Social Security rarely tells you or gives you specific instructions as to what you can and can't spend that money on. Remember, a lot of times people, by the time they get their lump sum, they're probably out of a home, they're probably out of transportation, they probably have a lot of outstanding bills. So Social Security is not in the business of telling you exactly what to do with your lump sum payment. So in the absence of any of the other things that I mentioned previously, more than likely it's not fraud if they decided to use that money to spend on a vehicle like a motorcycle. Our fourth question focuses on someone who was receiving disability benefits, but then the benefits were cut off for a period of time due to outstanding child support payments, but then was reinstated when the individual reached the age of 18. In particular, they were focusing on the SSI, and they want to know if there was anything that could have been done to release the hold on those SSI payments. I tell people all the time, if you have an outstanding child support obligation, Social Security and the state by which you have that obligation is going to be actively working with each other to ensure that you satisfy your requirements. Congress, when passing the regulations with regards to what could and couldn't be taken from Social Security benefits, left a very small hole of opportunities for federal debts, alimony, and child support. So if there is an outstanding child support obligation, yes, the state can go and make a determination of whether or not that person is responsible for having their monies garnished for purposes of satisfying that responsibility. Once the children reach the age of 18, they're no longer a child. Now, if there's still some arrearages in there, they may go for those as well. The key is really what type of disability program you're on. You don't see this a whole lot with SSI payments, so if you have some concerns that maybe they shouldn't have garnished your benefits and so forth, I encourage you to contact your State Department of Revenue as well as your local Social Security office. Our fifth question goes to, what happens if I receive unemployment compensation and then I win my Social Security case? Do I have to reimburse the unemployment? Social Security is not involved with reimbursement for purposes of unemployment. That's not really their issue. Their thing is, are you disabled? If they determine that you're disabled during the same period of time you were receiving unemployment, that's an issue you need to work out with your state. Every state is a little different. So what I would encourage you to do is that if you're concerned that there's a possibility that you may be getting Social Security and it may cover the period of time you were receiving unemployment, find out from your state unemployment agency whether you're responsible for reimbursing that money or not. That has nothing to do with Social Security. Our sixth question has to go to, does Social Security give urine tests to make sure that you're taking your medication? I will tell you that in my almost 10 years, I've never heard them do that. Am I saying that they won't do it? No. I'm just saying I've never heard them doing that. However, remember, Social Security is going to have access to your medical records in terms of requesting medical records from you. And doctors are notorious about paying close attention to whether or not you're compliant with taking your medications, whether it be through lab results or just merely asking you if you're doing what you're supposed to do. So I encourage you at all times, remember, even if Social Security doesn't do a random urine test to see if you're taking your meds, if you're telling your doctors this, they're going to pay close attention to what the doctors say. Our seventh question is, can I work part-time and get disability benefit as long as I keep it under $1,000? All right, here's what I've shared this a million times. You're going to make more money working than you will be from Social Security. And Social Security recognizes that you want to test the job market. So they offer what they call a trial work period, which is basically within a 9-month period over a 5-year span. As long as you are testing the job market within that time period and you make above the threshold amount for what we call a substantial gainful activity, that's about $1,000 or more, they're not going to penalize you and cut you off from your benefits. Now, part-time work tends to come up a bit. And I tell people this, be very careful about looking at a magical number and thinking, as long as I stay below that number, I'm straight. Be careful, because even part-time work can, one, be considered substantial gainful activity. In other words, if you're making $950, don't think, well, I'm safe because it's not $1,000. Well, if you're making $950, you probably can make $1,000. Also, if you're working with such consistency, meaning you're working 5 days a week and you're maybe working 4 or 5 hours a day and you're probably making about $700 or like that per month, Social Security is going to start wondering, well, if you could do this on a consistent basis, why can't you do a regular job on a consistent basis? So I tell this all the time because most people are trying to supplement their Social Security because it's never totally enough to enable you to live the life that you want to live. But I tell people all the time, be very careful about using the magical threshold number in terms of trying to still get Social Security and work at the same time. Our eighth question is, what are the benefits of having a representative or a lawyer at a hearing? There's a few things. First of all, there's a lot of great non-attorney representative organizations as well as attorney organizations out there as well who can assist you. And this is what I tell people. First of all, you got somebody who's going to develop your case for you. The first thing they're going to do is look at the file and see where the warts are that need to be fixed. Second of all, they're going to let you know about the strengths and weaknesses of your case. The reality is the average layperson really doesn't know exactly what they're looking at. It's so easy to focus on a letter from a doctor and think that doctor says I'm disabled, it must be a slam dunk. And sometimes you don't realize there may be other things in there like tax issues or workers' comp issues or unemployment or earned income, things of that nature. Also, you have someone who is familiar with the ins and outs of the process. They serve as a conduit between the judge who can ask you various questions or ask the representative questions that they can clarify that you may not be as versed about. And most importantly, they can demonstrate or show you what you need to do in order to strengthen your case or let you know where there are the problem areas in your case that's going to be difficult to fix. Our ninth question focuses on an individual who has schizoaffective disorder who's worried that the impairment is not in the listing of medical conditions and wants to know how's the judge going to know about that condition. Keep in mind this. First of all, there are a variety of impairments that are not in the listings. So if it's not in the listings cleanly, do not think, oh, okay, my chances of getting this is going to be gone because the judge is not going to recognize it. That's not the case. The judge's focus is going to be, do you have a severe impairment, something that affects your ability to do work for 12 months or more? If it's not in the listings, then the judge has to go to the next step, which is basically, how does your condition limit you? And if it limits you, does it limit you to the extent where you can't do the work that you used to do or any other work? So don't allow yourself to be caught up in it's not here in the listings, what the judge is going to do. The judge has been doing these for 20 or 30 years, and you're seasoned judges, and the judges are trained. They know what they're doing. You just focus on getting the treatment to demonstrate how your condition limits you. Our 10th question goes to how long does it take to get paid once you get approved? I typically tell people it takes anywhere from 60 to 90 days if there are no complications, meaning there are no issues with regards to potential overpayment, there's no issues with regards to workers' comp, there's no issues with regards to a need to a representative payee. As long as you don't have some of these funky issues floating out there, usually processing of your case goes pretty quickly. If you have a concurrent application, meaning it's processed at the local office and at the payment center, sometimes the two offices are communicating information, and that causes a little bit of a lag. So don't get frustrated if it takes you a little longer than normal. Just be diligent about calling them and staying on them to ensure that you get your benefits in a timely manner. Our 11th question is, I've been out of work for about 2.5 years due to workers' comp. Now I'm applying for Social Security. Will I get any back pay? The short answer is, it depends. I've done a few videos talking about workers' comp and the offset that relates to workers' comp. Keep in mind that there is a possibility that your Social Security benefits will be reduced based on the workers' comp you receive. So your eligibility to work to Social Security in terms of back pay as well as front pay will be affected by how much money you got in workers' comp, how old are you, how much you made when you were working in terms of on an average monthly basis, and what your anticipated Social Security disability benefits will be. All those things will be factored in determining whether or not you get anything in the past or if you'll get anything in the future. Our 12th question is, I'm having a hard time proving I'm disabled. What can I do? The reality is you bear the burden of proving that you are disabled. That's just the reality. That means you've got to do everything you can to show that you're disabled. Don't focus on the good stuff, meaning I got a couple of notes from a couple of doctors and they say I'm disabled. That's not enough. It's got to be the weight of all of your medical evidence. That means you need to go to the free clinics, the health department, the ER. You need to do what you can to get as much medical evidence to support your case, because at the end of the day, that's what they rely on. And yes, we know it's tough. You don't have any insurance. You don't have any money. Unfortunately, the regulations don't care about all that. You got to prove you're disabled. It's not the other way around. Got to do it. It stinks, but it is what it is. Our 13th question is, can I get trial work period if I leave the country? Let's talk about a couple of things. First, find out if the country that you're going to is one that Social Security permits receipts of disability benefits going into that country. Not every country falls into that category. Second of all, there's no distinction in the rules in terms of where you can get, where you are eligible to receive trial work period, meaning you can get it here. If you're going abroad, it doesn't really matter. Your key is, how do you let them know? In most instances, since they're not Social Security offices outside of the country, you're limited to those American embassies. Those are typically the place you need to go. So what you should do is contact your local office. They're probably not going to have a clue themselves, but some of the local offices they're used to dealing with, especially if you're in an area where people travel, like your coastal states where they're used to people coming in and out on a regular basis, they may be able to provide you with some guidance in terms of who you need to notify so that this way you don't have your benefits cut off prematurely because you tried to work. And our 14th and final question, what do I have to expect when I do a mental exam? I tell people you're going to have a clinical interview and there's possible testing. This is the thing that you need to be aware of. Give it your best effort. Don't try to beat the system because the reality is you can't. The test is designed to check to see if you're trying to cheat. So give it your best effort, do the best you can, and let everything else shake itself out. I want to thank you again for joining me for another edition of Q&A Social Security Disability Today. I know we had a lot of questions. It's been about a little bit since we've had our last show, but I wanted to make sure I got caught up with everybody. Hope I answered your questions. As always, if you want me to give a more detailed discussion, you know how to do it. Just feel free to give me a call on the disability chat topic line. You can always send me an offline chat message or chat with me online at legalbeat.anthonyreeves.com, or you can always send me a message. I am Attorney Anthony Reeves, and this is your Q&A Social Security Disability Today.